Hi, Sam. It's Ryan from Ohio.
Ryan from Ohio, what's on your mind?
I haven't called in a while, but, basically, I don't know. You guys I haven't really seen a whole lot of coverage about this nationwide. But Friday night, a little after 9 o'clock, I heard a bunch of commotion outside, and I walked outside to what I could only describe as like a hellscape. A train in my town derailed, and they were hauling oil and chemicals, and there were flames like hundreds of feet high. I
at least headlined that. I had seen that, and there was like a mass evacuation. I mean, hundreds of people were evacuated because of my understanding.
Yeah, this crash was about 5 blocks from my house, actually.
Wow.
It was scary. But basically, so they evacuated us the first night because they said they didn't know what chemicals were on the train. It ended up Norfolk Southern, the train company. They claimed that it took them like 24 hours to reveal what was even on the train.
Right.
And which, I mean, in the age of computers, it'd probably take about 5 minutes to figure out what was on the train. So
it certainly shouldn't take 24 hours, because if you got something that's going to explode like that, you would probably want to alert everybody, all the local authorities, right? Like, I mean,
should probably have a nationalize the trains in order to know this information sooner.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
This is what
put up some of these pictures as you talk. We'll put up some of these pictures.
Okay. A lot of protesters, they call these bomb trains. They're basically these trains that they travel at high speeds through residential areas, carrying like all these noxious and explosive chemicals. And it ended up coming out. Well, there's been a lot of misinformation, I will say, and it's crazy to see it happen in real time and see like news outlets that I thought were reputable, like parroting things that they hear from these train companies.
Right, and these are next. But here, keep scrolling through those pictures. I mean, we're showing pictures right now, and this is from this is some of these from the next day. But yeah, you can see this. Well, it's like a freaking bomb.
Yeah, it's basically, at first they said there was 3 tankers of vinyl chloride being shipped, but it turns out there was 5. It later came out there was 5, and basically what they ended up doing is on Monday they did what they called a controlled burn, where because they were afraid that the tankers were going to explode, because I guess vinyl chloride has a very, very low boiling point, and the temperature just kept rising within the tanker. And so they drilled into it and lit it up with flares, and they created this like huge, like smoke and fire explosion into the sky. And I mean, I want to go home, but also like, I don't know how long that stuff's going to be. I mean, they're being very, very obtuse.
It is
about
extremely.
All this.
I don't know much about it, but I know that it's extremely carcinogenic.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I know that what happens is there's a lot of hydrochloride that is formed when you burn vinyl chloride, and it latches onto like water molecules, and it can like literally create hydrochloric acid in the sky. So, I mean, because there was an inversion point in the weather that day, and so the chemicals only went about 3,000 feet up when they burned it all. And so, and there's clouds, and I can only imagine that, there had to have been some sort of like something raining down.
Do they know?
I'm pretty far out of town, but
do they know what caused it?
It was they said it was some sort of safety issue with the train, which, I mean, I can't help but feel
safety
like it's
issue with
really
the train?
Ironic.
I mean, it seems like there's a safety issue with the train. I would say
they're being, I mean, it wasn't like somebody else. It wasn't like somebody wrecked into the train or something. It's something, right. It was something wrong with the train itself.
Yeah.
And I find it really ironic that this is less than 2 months after Biden
without a doubt
prevented.
It's very hard to be aware of the fact of how hard the workers for these freight trains are worked, and not to have your first thought be, Maybe there was an issue with the tracks. Maybe there was something on the track, maybe something like that. But that, like, when you work people this hard, the idea that maybe, you know, after working, 14 days in a row or whatever it is, that somebody just, you know, made a user error.
And the like demand that they keep operating these things with less and less drivers.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard not to at least have that cross your mind.
I mean, it would be irresponsible not to have that be the main emphasis in question.
I mean, and it really is amazing how little sort of scrutiny there is about this. And I suspect part of the reason is because the administration doesn't want to remind people that they just basically, there's no two ways about it. I mean, regardless of what you feel about, you know, unions or not, there's no one who could possibly argue that less people operating this train is better than more people operating this train. You just can't. And
this company, over the past 3 years, has done over $8 billion in stock buybacks. Oh my God. So, I mean, they clearly can afford to pay workers.
They can afford to pay workers. They could probably also come up with a system that would let local authorities know within, and not just local authorities, but also like the local population. Hey, we can figure out what's on the train quicker than in 24 hours. You got this stuff that is highly carcinogenic, that has the ability, I think, if you inhale too much of these fumes, you die. That's pretty serious.
Maybe we know how many of the trains there are in the maybe 3, 5. Just ballpark it 4. Close enough. Well, how are people like communicating in the community? Like, I know that the authorities are really tight-lipped about it. Like, what are people talking about?
Well, there's been a couple of videos circulating around that you really will not see, like the news talk about. There was one, I don't know if this one's true or not, but there is someone in a nearby town called New Waterford that the train had just passed through, has a video. They claim, looking at it, it seems to be what they're describing. The train was on fire for several miles before it ended up exploding in my town. It wasn't big flames, but it was small enough that and they said that the Norfolk Southern, they said that they had a reading on their safety equipment just a little bit before the train derailed. But if it was on fire for several miles before that, then they probably have a safety.
This is from USA
they had
Today.
A reading from that too.
USA Today. Officials warn the controlled burn would send phosgene. This is a controlled burn. Phosgene and hydrogen chloride into the air. Phosgene is highly toxic, colorless gas with strong odor that can cause vomiting and breathing trouble, and was used as a weapon in World War I.
It's mustard gas, and they're actually going around and asking people for keys to their house because they're going in to test people's basements because it's a heavy gas, and they're afraid that people's basements are being turned into death traps. And there's another video going around of a stream downstream from the crash, bunch of dead fish. So clearly it might not be seeping into the groundwater, but something is seeping into the surface water. Oh, and I mean, I'll be honest, I cannot wait to sue these guys. I really can't. But at the same time, I mean, if I end up going home and getting cancer, what's money going to do me?
Right. I would not risk it. If
it's illegal. It's illegal to go home right now. So, which is a really surreal feeling to be told that it's illegal to go home.
Well, man. I mean, I'm glad you were able to get out of there. I wonder, if everyone in that area was able to. I would imagine more difficult.
Some people were refusing, unfortunately.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
And and people should be aware, and of course they're not, and this is by design, that this stuff is crisscrossing the country. And I mean, that is on some level, there is a failure of a failure of government agencies. It is a failure of Congress. It's a failure of the union representing these workers too, to not get this information out there. I don't know, how. I can't assess the efforts that they've made or not. And maybe they've made the efforts, and there just simply isn't the appetite for people to know that, sleep tight tonight. Incidentally, a bomb's going to go by your house at 70 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour. And you should know that we have 45% less staff than we did 10 years ago operating that bomb. I mean, it's...
And then they've been doing these press conferences every day. And seeing one of those Norfolk Southern people get up there and have the gall to talk about how soon they'll have the railroad operational again is it's like, what about my house, you asshole? I can't go home. I don't care about your profits. I don't care about your railroad. I want to go home.
Is there mechanisms to put people up, or are they just
that's another thing is that the railroad is fronting a lot of money for people to stay out of town. However, you got to bring your receipts in, you're itemizing after a business trip.
Right.
It's.
Are they making? They're not making you sign anything.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't anyhow, because
right.
And they're offering these. They're offering, after everything's said and done, they're offering some sort of recompensance package. Or am I saying that word wrong? But recompense
right.
package, and basically, I'm telling everybody I know, don't accept that package, because if they, if you're on a class action lawsuit later, and they say you already accepted our we're sorry package,
right? Yeah, that's
then
good advice.
Maybe you might get screwed out of that.
That's good advice. I wouldn't take anything from them. I wouldn't take anything from them that involved signing anything without talking to a lawyer.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the thing, I do have to take my receipts in for my hotel.
You take your receipts in. You take your receipts in. I don't think you're in any way all you're doing is, I don't think that's an issue. But it'd be curious. I may ask around a little bit.
And keep us posted, too.
Yeah, and I wish there was some sort of place link I could give you guys for donating, but it's so recent that there's really not a whole lot of things. A lot of the stuff that's going on for people helping out has been local. A lot of
email
local
us
businesses,
if there's something that comes
pizza
up.
Places. Okay.
All right. Appreciate the call. Hang in there, man. Glad you were able to get out of there quick. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Thanks for having me on.
Bye-bye.
There was one of those bomb trains carrying heavy natural gas from the Bakken oil fields in North Dakota in 2015 or 14. I remember I seen it in an airport, just giant explosion near Castleton. And it's try to do better next time.
Unbelievable.